If you're slim and you're trying to gain weight, but you're on a budget, I'm going to give you the list of my favorite foods that I used to help me go from being slim to putting on some muscle. So first on that list for me was cereal and whey protein. I kind of went in to the grocery store looking for something that would taste really good, also trying to keep in mind health. So I stuck to more towards things like Cheerios, maybe Shreddies, those wheaty cereals with the frosted wheats or whatever, just because I'm not trying to get in a bunch of sugar. And like I mentioned before in my previous videos, when you grow, you want to grow lean and you don't want to put on too much extra fat. So I try to keep it clean, keep the sugar content low. That way you know that you're eating healthy and you're still making progress, kind of going in the direction that you want to go. Okay, so cereal isn't exactly expensive. I mean, some would argue that it is, but in a lot of cases you can get a giant box for under $10 and you can get at least 6, 7, maybe even 8 meals depending on the size of the box and depending on the type of cereal that you get. So in terms of budget friendly, this is a really good option. And you can mix it with your whey protein. So you can either do milk or water, shake up your protein in the milk or the water, and then just pour it into your cereal as if you're just having cereal and milk. It doesn't cost a whole lot of money to have this kind of meal. I wouldn't suggest having it 6 times a day, but if you're looking for a good breakfast option, then this is definitely something that can fit your budget. Next, we have peanut butter sandwiches. So those are really basic. I don't know, you might be allergic to peanut butter, and if you are, then maybe don't do this. If you're allergic to nuts in general, obviously this isn't an option for you. But if you are good with nuts, then I would say get yourself some peanut butter, maybe some almond butter, cashew butter, whatever you like, and then get yourself a loaf of bread. A loaf of bread in Canada, might go for $3-4 at most. A jar of peanut butter might cost you $7 or $8 at this point, but a jar of peanut butter really does go a long way. And with a loaf of bread, you can get at least, I don't know how many slices are in one, but you can get at least, I would assume, maybe 10 sandwiches or 8 sandwiches out of it. So in terms of budget friendly, this is a really good option. What I used to do was I used to put peanut butter with brown sugar. My dad got me into that when I was a kid, so I've never really heard of anybody else doing that. And I'm not saying like load on the sugar, but just enough to give it some extra taste. Some people do bananas with their peanut butter. You can do that as well. Just kind of find a way to make it enjoyable for you. Maybe some jam or jelly or whatever you want to call it. I was always good with strawberry jam. And again, having to buy all these things might cost a little bit more than you might want up front. But again, you get a lot of meals out of these things. So in terms of budget-friendly options, this definitely fits the category. One of my next favorite meals was the classic tuna and rice. You can go and get a giant bag of rice for anywhere between $13 and $20, depending on if it's on sale. You can get, I think it was 8 kgs. The last bag I bought was only $14. That was on sale. I get jasmine rice if you like basmati, or if you enjoy jasmine, get whichever one you want. I would suggest to stay away from the minute rice because in terms of cost, it's actually not the best bang for your buck. You can spend a little bit more money, but you get a lot more rice that'll carry you on a lot farther. And then with the tuna, I usually mix tuna with mayo just to give it some consistency. Plus it helps add a little bit of fat to the meal, which is good. You can use the light mayo or the original mayo, whichever one you prefer. Depending also how many fats you're having in a day, you could definitely add in 1 tablespoon of which option you choose. And then maybe some salt or some other seasonings. But in terms of budget friendly, this is a really good option because cans of tuna are pretty cheap. You can buy a lot of them together and it might cost you, $5 for 5 of them. And that's at least 5 meals. I wouldn't recommend eating tuna every single day. But if you're in a pinch, honestly, doing it for a little bit isn't the end of the world. I don't think you could possibly eat too much tuna within the span of a month unless you're going every single meal is tuna, which I wouldn't recommend. But in terms of budget friendly, it's really good because you can buy, again, 5 cans, $5 if they're on sale, and a giant bag of rice for under $20, and that'll carry you for months. Or depending on how much rice you eat, at least a month. But in the grand scheme of things, $20 for a month's supply of rice I think it's pretty good. And then my next favorite meal was pasta and red meat. I like to do just your standard spaghetti noodles or those penne noodles. You can buy a bag for, I think it's like $2 or $3. And you'll at least get a good 5 or 6 meals out of it, depending on the quantity you're having per meal. Then I would go with the cheap option for the sauce. I would do like a Unico sauce or a Prego sauce. Just because obviously you're trying to save money and this is a budget-friendly idea. You can buy a few of them and they might only cost you $5 or $6 in total for two. And the cans should last you at least 5 or 6 meals each. So in terms of budget-friendly, these are really good options. And then you can throw in some red meat so you can get some extra protein in there. So I personally go with lean ground beef. If you want to do extra lean, you can, but that's a little bit more expensive. Not much more expensive, but it is a little bit more. And ideally, if you're in the situation that I was in, that you're trying to gain weight, getting in the lean beef might actually be a better idea because you get a little bit more fats in the meat and you get more calories out of it as well. Okay, so budget-friendly meal, pasta with some red sauce. If you like other kinds of sauces, go for it. But the cheaper sauces I always found to be tomato sauce. And then your red meats. You can go with ground beef, you can go with ground bison if you'd like. And to be honest, I've been known to throw a can of tuna in there every now and then by itself. So just pasta, sauce, and tuna. Because again, these things are relatively inexpensive and you can get a lot of them for cheap. And then they have the right values in the food that you're trying to consume. So the protein's high in tuna. You get a lot of carbs with the noodles. And then the sauce, well, just get some extra flavor with the sauce. So that's my favorite meal that I used to get on a budget. Now, I understand that not everybody's going to want to eat those meals. They might be budget friendly, but in terms of flavor, they might not be the best thing, and you might just personally not like any of the options that I gave you. That's perfectly okay. I think in terms of shopping for a budget, you should be looking for things that are on sale, or at the very least, things that you can buy in large quantities that'll last you longer. So don't go buying the smaller package options because even though they might be $4 now, you'll have to buy a lot of them to get enough calories. Whereas if you were to buy a giant bag of something, it might cost you not $4, but it might be $18, but then you get to have it for 2 or 3 months time, right? So think about that when you're making your purchases and you're shopping on a budget. You don't want to spend all your money, and you also don't want to spend a little bit too much, but multiple times every single week, because I used to do that as well. I used to go to the grocery store almost every single day, and then I started buying things in larger quantities, and it really helped me kind of make the meals ready for the entire week, but also understand how much I'm spending and how much I'm getting out of what I'm spending. So if you're looking to stay within your budget, then try to buy things that are larger in quantity. They might be more expensive, but they usually carry you a little bit further along. So you might be able to make something last a month or two versus buying smaller items that might only last you for a couple of days and you got to go back. Okay. And when it comes to locations of where to make these purchases, I feel like a lot of people go to Costco because they get a lot, like there's a lot of options and they are very large in quantity. And people say you get a good deal. I personally don't shop at Costco. I know I should. But I just live close to a Loblaws, so I just make all my purchases there. And I also like going to the local Farm Boys because, well, they have local meats and their prices tend to be pretty good. Usually meat is a good price for the amount that you get. But again, it really depends on where you live and what stores you have near you. If you don't have the means to go all the way across town to get a discount, then maybe that's not the best option for you. But if you do have the means to go across town or get to your favorite grocery store that you know has a lot of discounts all the time, then by all means go there. The goal is to make this experience as easy and simple as possible for you so that you can stick to it for a long time. And obviously you want to grow, but you need to stay within your budget. And it's very important that you get in the quality of food that you need and especially in the right quantities as well. So I hope the meals that I gave you are some things that you would actually enjoy eating. And if they're not, don't worry. Just focus on shopping for things on sale and shopping for things in larger quantities because they're going to last you a lot longer than buying small things all the time. If you're asking yourself, why should I listen to you? I used to be skinny. I used to be a very, very slim guy my entire childhood and growing up. Not until I turned 20 did I actually gain any amount of size. But it took me a very long time to learn what to do and how to stay consistent in order to build that amount of muscle. And I'm just trying to help people who are in the same situation that I used to be in, because I understand the struggle. I understand how difficult it can be in your day-to-day life. And it's important that we have the guidance from somebody who's been through it to help you get there as safely but as quickly as possible. So I hope you find this information helpful. And if you're interested in learning about anything else that pertains to being slim and gaining some tissue, then follow my channel and check out my other videos to see some more.